Hello, everyone. We already know who's a developer in this room. We already know who's a design leader in this room. But who in this room is a designer? Yes. And who of you, or who is a typographer? Oh, welcome, my friends. After this nice little session, we will be more typographers, because we will all become typographers. We'll embrace the new technology of variable fonts. But before that, let me tell you a little about me so you know who I am. I'm a designer, and I'm from Vienna. I think this is also the reason why I have a sausage under my skull, on my illustration, I'm not sure. You can find me here on Twitter and Instagram. And for me as a designer, it's important to know things about code. I'm interested in code. I love CSS, I do prototypes, and I wouldn't say that I'm a front-end developer though, because my fear starts with the word Java and script. So this is what I leave to more capable hands, but most of my work consists of branding and doing stuff for various clients around Europe, and this might be branding work for traditional corporate designs, or maybe for cultural institutions, or for nice startups like this one that made a wearable for horses that checks when they have a nocturnal colic, and it sends you an alert. Oh, interesting. Artwork for musicians, or for the vocal ensemble of the Vienna State Opera, branding and web design, and for some authentic vintage eyewear by a Viennese optician with some nice Viennese slang in there. Oida. Or for some friends, a survey platform they did, where we did the logo design and photography. And of course I had to do a custom logo for the pregnancy project of my wife. Sure. Or maybe a nerdy top trumps game I did with some friends where you could battle LinkedIn versus YouPorn. We sold this online, it's now offline, but you see, typography finds a good spot or a good place in my daily working routine. But naturally, it has to spill over into my private life as well. Like when it takes me forever to fill out the food vouchers for my daughter's kindergarten. To be fair, the other daughter was sick and I stayed at home and I had time. Okay. Or when I do chalkboard lettering for my beloved art house cinema in my hometown. And then first time, after 10 hours drawing this stuff, finding out that you do not spell rucola with 2 C. No, you don't. Well, now I know. But I also wanted to take it to another level, to a whole new extreme. What's better than just writing letters? It's better to feel them, touch them. So I made a giant set out of wood, a wooden stool, and I painted it and I built it, and yes, this is how you touch a serif, it's good. And then apply some real paint on it, not just clicking swatches in Illustrator or InDesign, it's much more interesting. So yeah, this is also something I did. So you can see type is near and dear to my heart, and I'm seeing that I'm infecting you as well, and this is my mission here. So I was psyched. I was thrilled when web fonts were introduced back 2010. I was very happy because finally I had a lot of opportunities I didn't have before. And the thing is, I also accepted the kind of limitations that come when you only should load a certain amount of fonts, of course. We're very responsible people, so we only load a small amount of fonts. But still, I always missed this variety and possible styles I'm familiar with coming from print design. And so I was laying out an article about web typography, and I said, just for the fun of it, just to try it out, let us use whatever font styles I want. So I said it with an interesting heading that pulls you in, some nice lead-in text, yes. Then, ooh, big lights, crazy semi-slanted headings on the left side, interesting, yeah. And then a pull quote, also beautiful, a lightweight, nice. What I ended up with were 18 font files. And this comes at 632 kilobytes. I'm a bit ashamed because I saw a lot of developers here. So for web fonts only. But what if I told you I could do it with less? Maybe with just one font file that comes at 56 kilobytes of overall file size? Ooh, now I got you interested, I see it. Now I got these developers interested. Welcome, my friends, to the world of variable fonts. The arguments are finally over, or maybe they aren't. So what we will learn today is how you all can get started with variable fonts right now. We'll tackle what the hell are variable fonts, then how to use variable fonts on the web. We'll have some good times, we'll be excited, you'll be longing for more, give me that and I will. But then, we also have some hard times. Focus potential pitfalls and things we have to worry about. Yeah, that's working for the web, I guess. But after that, eventually, I'll build you up again, and you all will be fixed and ready, and you leave this conference and do something with variable fonts, or at least after the conference in the evening then. All right. So, first one, what the hell are variable fonts? The thing is, when you have a typeface with various weights, for example, or styles, in this example it's a weights, traditionally every single style is stored in one single file. We know that, of course. Now, with OpenType variable fonts, you can store all these files in one individual file, a variable font file then. And how does this work? The variable font stores one outline and the points that create this outline and how they should move or behave to create another style. Like here, again, another weight, for example. And this magical thing happens through interpolation. Yes, there it is. This means we still have named instances we're familiar with. It's not anything very new, so you still have medium, bold, or font weight 700. But you also have optional designs in between. And you can adjust them however you want to. So you see why this is a wet dream for a typographer? Yes. And this interpolation happens along certain axes. In this case, it's a weight axis, but you can also combine several axes together, and then you can combine a weight axis with a width axis from condensed to extended, and you get an enormous amount of different styles. In this case, it would be 25,000 different styles out of one single file. Wow. Bam. Nice. So now let's talk about how to use them on the web, but first I have to drink something because it excites me too much. Cheap joke, but okay. So, how to use variable fonts on the web. And this is interesting. I'm starting with browser support. I'm not getting you down afterwards. So we're at 76% global support. And this technology has been introduced 2 years ago. What? 76%? Yes, it's true. And all major browsers are on board. And if you only look at mobile support in Germany, it's 90%. Come on, this is nice. This works. Something we can use. So, but how can we do it? How can we find a variable font? Well, at first, there's a brilliant website called v-fonts.com by Nick Sherman, and there you can discover new variable fonts. And these fonts are there posted regularly, like one or two a week, or maybe less or maybe often, but there's also a Twitter account where you can follow. So v-fonts.com is great, and you also have these axes where you can slide around and play with it and try it out. Okay, we found a variable font. Now we're going to integrate it with our good friend, the font face rule, because we do not use Google Fonts, we just use font face rule. Sure, better. Want to keep them ours, near and dear to our server. So the thing that changes here is it's only the variation parts in the format. So if it's a true type, then you would add dash variations. And you still should add a part without, or a source without the variations part for older supporting browsers that they get it. But then they will also access the variable font. So this is easy, no-brainer. Next one, let's talk about these axes. There's another handy website, axis-praxis.org by Lawrence Penny. And there you can drag your font file in there and find out what it's capable of. And then you see these different axes we talked about before, and you see the ranges of these axes and how you can use it. Talking about these axes now, it's the axis of good. And there are 5 registered axes, or common axes, and we're going to talk about each individually now and how to change them in our CSS. We already heard about the weight axis, changing the weight, easy. And here we have 2 CSS properties to do that. And there's a high-level property, and this will become the standard. Right now it's a working draft, it works in most supporting browsers, but there's also a low-level property, and this is working right now in every browser that supports variable fonts. So if you're in doubt, go for the low-level property and write that. And there's this weird 4-character tag, and this is weight, you can guess that, and you use just this one. This is quite technical for a designer, isn't it? But no. And now we have the width axis, also easy, changing the width. And there's the high-level property, font stretch. Typographers here? Do you feel it? And everybody else? Intermission. What the fuck? We are not stretching fonts. Here is, there are not created horrible mutants that are torn apart and look like this, what I found on a jeans label, and since then it haunts me. It haunts me. And now it's haunting you. Look at the sea. Away. So, no, we are not stretching fonts. Takeaway message, only one. We are not stretching fonts and create this. What's this dark technique, transform scale X? Who does this? Nobody does this. And do you think how the vertical, always mixing it up, vertical lines look bolder and chubby, and the distance between letters? Go away, go away. No, font stretch, ironically, does a good thing there. It changes the width within the set design space by a type designer. So, bad name, good cause. Don't stretch font. Use font stretch, though. Rot in hell. Now you're awake. So, intermission over. Okay. Next one, italic axis. And what's happening there? Did I do something wrong? No, I did not. It's not morphing, it's jumping. And the thing is, a true italic is not just the slanted version of the upright. It's got different character forms, like you can see at the A. So it's not the same outline here, it switches. And this is the reason why it's only on or off. You can't slide in between this. But there are typefaces that are slanted versions of the upright, and these are called slanted typefaces. And there's a slant axis, like here, and this is a degrees value at font style oblique then, different name for slanted, yeah. Don't know why this is. It's a slant axis, but it's font style oblique. Okay. And then we have something that will excite you even more. Optical sizing. Yes. You don't have a clue. Okay. Optical sizing is a concept that compensates for printing conditions, and it aims for optimized legibility on small sizes, but optimized personality on large sizes. So when I scale this up to the same size, you can see on the left side 12 pixels, on the right side 72, but it's all the same now. And you have a sturdier stroke, you have less contrast, and then it goes to the right direction with more details, more contrast. So this is something that's from the times of metal type, and it got lost through digitization, more or less, if you didn't create a certain style only for certain sizes. But now it comes back, and it's fluid, and it just works out of the box because it's turned on by default, and this turns me also on. Wow! It's just working. And besides this nice axis we have already seen, the common axis, there are also the free axis. Every type designer can decide whatever axis they want. So there you have to use the low-level property then, of course, because they can make up weird 4-character tags and use them. And you have to find out the name by checking the font file. All right, so now we're good to go, and we'll have some golden times, my friends. Good times are coming up. But another break for me again here. All right. First thing for the developers among you, let's take a look at an average news site like the Süddeutsche Zeitung. And how many fonts do they load? They load 7 different fonts, and 4 of them are work sans, and they all come at a certain file size, and if you combine the file sizes of work sans, you have 166 kilobytes. Yeah, it's quite okay for that amount of file sizes, but you could easily replace this with a variable font, if there was one. There's none I've heard from for Open Sans yet, but this could save you more than 50% of your file size. So, all the developers excited. Now let's talk about other things, like designers. There are also new possibilities, design-wise, like this is a typeface from DS Type, where they add serifs and make it fluid, where you can add and remove serifs. I think this is a very interesting concept, although I'm not that satisfied with the result or the quality of the result for a long reading text. I think it's a great idea and brings up new ideas how you could use type. Then you could also adjust typography precisely to the medium. When you take a look at the redesign of Dropbox that they launched last year, you see when you look on the right side of the browser that the text adapts to the width of the space that's available. And this is quite nice, isn't it? They didn't do this with a variable font, though. They used static ones, I think 19 on that website, but only designers look at it anyway. And technology wasn't ready back then, 2017, in those old days. But now they could easily do it with a variable font. And you can also bring life into your text. And who doesn't want that? As I've shown you before in the titles for the chapters, these were all animated in the browser and the screen captured them. But there's also a very beautiful website by Microsoft where they show how they animate the weight axis when you see the headings in between. So, also very nice. And also something that wouldn't have been possible before. Here in this example, you could experience something with the optical sizing axis. Here you see you have text. I set it in viewport units, so it will scale with the width of the viewport. And I open up this example in Chrome. And when I'm making my window bigger, the text gets bigger. And of course, the strokes get thicker, natural behavior. It just scales proportionally. But what if I wanted to have a consistent hairline stroke here? Well, this typeface here has an optical sizing axis that allows you to do just that. It's a typeface by David Jonathan Ross, and he's going to talk tomorrow here. And thank you, David, for providing all these great typefaces for this presentation and also the workshop yesterday, because he does a lot of stuff with it. And the only thing here I'm now changing is I'm opening up this file in Safari. And Safari supports the optical sizing by default. And when I scale it up now, it constantly gets recalculated and it remains a consistent stroke. That's nice. This wouldn't have been possible before. And there are also some nice opportunities for branding. Like when you take a look at this Chinese brand, I really cannot pronounce. I just won't do. But that's the name. And they created a nice variable font that changes with sound. So when you click, you don't have to hear the sound here, but you see it changes some parts of the text. And it's a great branding opportunity here as well. So, where there's much light, shadow is deep. Or where you have a lot of choices, you can choose wrong. You see, we're getting to that part where it's not that cool. Maybe, or it's cool. Or at least you will have a hard time choosing. Here in this example, Amstelvar has an enormous amount of axes, and you can really mess up bad when you change stuff here. This font wasn't created or was created to showcase the technology. It was, keep this in your head. It was not created to go bad. But the thing is, I could also imagine clients or other people fucking up with only a weight axis or a width axis. So what I mean is, you clearly need more typographic knowledge here, why you want to do what. On the other hand, these are the named instances for Acumin variable in Photoshop. There are 90 named instances, and they go from, what is it, extra condensed thin to wide ultra black italic. And this is just choice overload here. So, do we really need that many font weight styles? I'm not sure. Maybe we just need 3 fonts. Maybe I just need regular italic and bold. And for my body text, this is all really sufficient, because I only need fonts to combine when I want to highlight stuff, and I only can highlight stuff when things look different enough. They don't want to look a bit different. So maybe I only need 3 files, and then the static fonts will always be, or most of the time, they could be even smaller than one variable font file. So this performance gain always comes under a certain condition. You always have to compare. It's not I'm saving on. I'm saving on when I'm using this design space and when I want to use this variety. So you always have to consider. And what if I need an italic weight as well? The thing is, as I told you before, most variable fonts do not contain an italic style in the same file, because this file then has a different outline. So they have two files then. And this is the reason why this might even be bigger. And the other thing is, who is going to pay for it and how much do they cost? Right now we're used to 30 to 60 euros maybe for one style, and 300 to 700 euros for a family. Maybe more, not more I guess, but maybe less. But these are high quality products. A variable font really provides more than a font family. So why should it cost less? Of course, there are quality fonts that are very cheap or at a reasonable price, always. But type designers are always struggling, figuring out how to do this. And it's always a good idea to contact the type designer and tell them, tell type designers what you're interested in, that you want a font as a variable font and this stuff. So this is still a bit unsolved. But right now, there are a lot of variable fonts that are open source, because a lot of people are experimenting, wanting to get out this technology. David is going to tell you a bit more about this tomorrow. And so you get them for free right now. Then you could also rent them or get them hosted on FontStand. Right now, at the moment, Google Fonts do not provide variable fonts. They provide them as an early access, but you cannot choose them. But I have a feeling that they're working on it. They haven't announced anything yet to roll this out bigger, because they will save a ton of bandwidth once they serve variable fonts, of course. And from Adobe Fonts, we don't know what their plans are with variable fonts and hosting them. But at the moment, you can always buy them with the static fonts. This is, if they are as a retail, you can buy them and get the variable font as an extra, because you bought the whole family, here have the variable font and use it. And this is a very realistic use case we could all consider right now, maybe for a free one or for a commercial, for a retail one. And this is the last point then too. How you can get started right now. So, I hear you say or think, well, nice technology, but I do not want to jeopardize my whole, I hope I hear you think that, say that, I do not want to jeopardize my whole typographic experience only provide a variable font for people that are on the recent technology stack. You don't want that, or no? No. Web fonts are well supported, so why not use web fonts as a static web font, as a fallback? So, first choice, variable font. Then, use a static web font as a first fallback option. And then, of course, if this doesn't work, system fonts as a fallback. But so people who do not see the variable font will still see this value, this branding you're providing by great typography. And this is also the reason why we do it. And here I made a pen, on CodePen, I put it online, where you can switch between a fallback font and the variable font. And you can take a look at this. It's very easy how it works. The hardest part was this toggle. Oh my God, it was JavaScript. I figured it out eventually, but it wasn't a good time. So here you can see, when I switch it, it changes the font and it gets a bit wider, because on this narrow screen I made it a bit narrower. And now on the wide screen, when I switch it here, you see that the headline was wide again, and then it got narrower. The thing is, I'm using this weight axis on a small screen and make the text a bit narrower, so I get more words into one line, I have a better reading experience and stuff. But on a big screen, you don't see a difference between the body font at the full width and the other one. And this is very easy, so you don't lose your branding. It's like progressive enhancement with typography. We should do this. And if you use font variation settings and you set it at a width, other browsers that do not support this, they will just ignore it, because they don't care. Easy. But maybe you just want to add some special typographic features here. You want, if the variable font is supported, you want to have it big, but you want it light and condensed. So you add a feature query here with add supports. And this feature query here, it's supported by all browsers that support variable fonts. So this is also very easy. You only put in stuff there that older browsers would understand, that would affect the variable, the normal font then as well. So you get it. I don't have to over-explain here. So what I also want to show you are here some nice tools too now. In Firefox, you can check the weight axis and the slant axis or whatever axis you want, or what the font provides in the dev tools. Firefox is the only browser that does this right now, so it makes it very easy for every designer to use this stuff and to try it out and to find the ranges. Right now, Firefox only supports this. So, summing it up, you have one font file with many possibilities. You have fine-graded influence for better typography when you know what you're doing. And if you don't, consult the typographer, please. Improvements are by default, like for example with optical sizes, and you are also have a performance gain under certain conditions. I say 3 to 4 font styles and you get this performance gain. And use web fonts as a first fallback option. Then you won't lose your branding value and your typographic voice. So this is a good slide to take a picture from. You can always find this online then. I'm not going to walk you through every resource here, but self-centered as I am, I'm pointing out the 2 things that I wrote. And first one is an article that sums this talk up more or less, and the other one is I just released about how to use a variable font with a web font as fallback. So, when I was designing this demo page, it wasn't easy for me because I really adopted this mindset of only using 3 to 4 different font styles because it doesn't make much sense in body text. And it was hard for me to break out of this mindset, to break out of this routine. But I made a switch down there, JavaScript again, oh my God. And here you can see how it changes when we only use 3 typefaces. And of course, it looks much duller, less interesting. The body text doesn't change because there only need 3, but the headings in between and also the nice pull quote looks, yeah, also nice, but not that nice. So you see, there can be benefits. It can be beneficial to have more styles and more variety here. What I want to leave you with is that this is the best time for variable and flexible and great typography. We are living in this golden age now. We can do anything with typography. And you have to see, this is something, maybe you use it with something small, start with it, shape where it's going. And I understand if you're overwhelmed by that many possibilities. I was too. But if you ever feel in pain or sorry, drop me a line. Let's have a conversation. It's always great to talk about typography. Only good things happen when doing that. But remember, when you use a variable font, try to design for variable typography. Try to use this extra design space. Try to make something different. Because the file-saving aspect, this isn't something interesting. The technical stuff isn't interesting. I just learned this stuff to know what I can do, how I can design things. But when you really embrace these possibilities and use this additional design space, you can do something great. And then you can really unfold the possibilities of variable typography. And they are giving your voice, your content, a better typographic voice. So, thank you.